Good morning, Gigi. How are you?
Buenos dias. I'm good. I'm awake. I'm alive, but I still don't know what day it is. I feel like every day I just wake up and I'm like, you know what? All right, it's another one. Let's do it.
Excellent. So just get up and go for you. Is that
You
it?
have to. Oh gosh. I feel that like, since pandemic, the days, a lot of people say the days are longer and slower. I feel that they fly by. Feel like I blink and I'm like, oh look, it's time for bed again. So
Well, that's a good thing for you, I think.
I think so. I think
Right?
so. It's just with a lot on your mind, whether it's work or stress or family. I feel that at least you're keeping life busy, right?
Exactly. That's life. So, Gigi Saul Guerrero, let's have a little bit of an introduction for those out there who might not be familiar with your extensive work and a little bit of background.
Of course. Yeah. So I'm from Mexico City, but I live in Vancouver, Canada. You might be wondering, why is a Mexican in Canada? Trust me, I don't have an answer for that. That's why I leave every winter. But I'm a filmmaker here, and I specialize in horror, a lot of genre twisted Latin stories, and I have my production company named Lucha Gore Productions, which is so much fun. The play on words with luchadores. It's
For
all about
sure.
lucha libre for me. And my most famous short film was called El Gigante, which is now on Shudder. And it's lucha libre and cannibalism. And I think that's the short film that got my career started. And since then I've made two features, one called Culture Shock with Hulu that did amazing
Mm-hmm.
festival run and so well received. Culture Shock received a Best Primetime Movie Award from the Imagen Awards, which is like the Latino Golden Globe.
It's a
It's
huge award.
it's massive, so that was such an honor, the feature debut to be so well received, and since then, my relationship with Blumhouse has been wonderful. And they gave me an opportunity to make another fun film, which is Bingo Hell. You can see it on
Mm-hmm.
Amazon Prime. And that was a movie for los abuelitos, a horror movie you can watch with your grandparents. That
Yeah.
was the goal. So it's been a lot of fun. And now in the directing side, I'm off to make another feature that is not a horror, and we can talk
Mm.
about that in a sec. And
Yes.
yeah, but listen, guys, for those who don't know me, I'm an actor here in Vancouver. Why? Because there's no Latinos in Vancouver, so my competition is 5 people. So it really helps to be an actor here. So I do a lot of voice acting. That's me on the famous Swiffer Sweeper commercial.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm an actor, director, producer, and I love all things film. All things
So
film.
you love arts, I think.
Love arts.
That's
Yeah,
what
my
I'm
family
getting.
is very artsy family, but it's funny. There's me, right? But my mom, she was a professional dancer. She was on
Wow.
TV a lot back
Mhm.
in Mexico City. My dad plays violin and cello. My sister sings opera. Very classy people. And then there's me, who's like, yeah, gore and horror, man. So
Right.
it's a really interesting dynamic, this
I
family.
bet.
We're
But
all artsy. Yeah.
but you're all artsy, and I
All of us.
think in when I was telling you earlier how I know of you from a previous virtual interview many years ago at the Blood in the Snow Film Festival, Canadian Film Festival, also known as BIT. So I
Yeah.
think you also mentioned in that interview you mentioned how you were almost going to be a cartoonist or you were going to study
That's
art,
right.
right?
That's
So
right. That was
somehow
my
you
first
found
dream.
your way to be creative.
It's 100% true. Yeah, I wanted to be a cartoonist, an animator. I wanted to make Disney films. And
Mm-hmm.
that's because my most favorite toy when I was little was my VHS player. Literally,
Right.
my VHS player was my jam. And I loved the one that I had actually was able to play the VHS tapes frame by frame. And I don't
Oh,
know
wow, that's
why,
fancy.
yeah, I don't know why to me that was the coolest thing. But movies like Bambi, Aladdin, I would find mistakes on purpose. I wanted to find mistakes.
Like continuation issues type of things,
all that, and I found many funny things on those movies, and I just wanted to be part of helping them be better. And that was my mentality as a kid. I wanted to make like cartoons without mistakes, I used to call it. Continuity mistakes. So my parents put me at a young age to learn animation, but I went through a circle of all the things I wanted to do as a kid, but it always kept coming back towards the arts.
Nice.
Yeah, and just by pure accident, when we moved to Canada, at that age, as a young teenager, I wanted to do all things sports. I want to be the first Mexican to play hockey and like all these things. And by pure accident, I got into the theater class, drama class, because it was the class that still had space, because all the classes I wanted, all the elective courses I wanted, full. I was like, well, theater class looks like an easy one. You can skip school. I ended up loving it. I had no idea I was funny. I had no idea I was so animated. I had no idea I was such a weird theater freak. Like I just became part of it. And my parents were like, oh, maybe there's something act. And that's kind of where it all kind of came back to it. And I booked my first commercial, and I was like, wow, like this is what it takes to make movies. Like, what is this? And at that exact age, at 16, is when I saw Children of Men. So that was the movie that changed my life. I don't joke when I say changed my life. Finding out that a Mexican made that movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like it was like, so it was a movie that it was so mature for me. And I'd never seen anything like that. And it was all by pure accident. Did I ever tell you how I saw that?
No, I think you mentioned to me in that previous interview that was the movie that changed your life, but not how you got into theater or anything.
Now that is a story, my friend. So so I was about 16. You know, I was super immature. I'm the reason there's no more kids in the family. So after me, it stopped. My sister was perfect. Great, let's have one more. Oh God, that's it. So I knew that my sister was going on a date. My older sister. If you're the sibling that's the youngest,
they have to take you.
To torture everyone. Yes. So I knew my sister was going on a date. I knew what theater, what time. I knew everything. And so I huddled up all my friends and I was like, let's go crash my sister's date. And little did I know that was the movie she was going to go see. So I'm in the back with my popcorn ready to throw it at them. And then this movie starts. And I was so impacted by this film. And at that age, I was only watching Adam Sandler comedies. I only wanted to watch horror movies. Not that there's anything wrong, but I was so closed off from all kinds of movies. I was like calling everything, oh, this stupid. Meh. I was that person. This movie begins, Children of Men, and no film has just impacted me at the time that I didn't even know you could feel such tragedy, and that you could feel almost be told where humanity is going.
Right.
The movie is so ahead of its time that I walked out of that movie feeling like I hate humanity, and like that just literally saw through a lens what we are. And it was the first time I've ever seen shots that don't cut, like one. And that movie was so famous for that. And
for sure,
where the story ends, the guy that my sister was dating was a film student. So he saw how this teenage girl was like, my sister was like, I can't believe you. Well, she's getting mad at me. This guy, he goes like, well, I'm learning how to do movies like this in school. I'm learning how to make that. And I'm like, you learn about movies in school?
Right.
Yeah, he says, yeah. It's called film school. I was like, what is that? Like, it just changed my life. He's like, and you should check this guy out. He's Mexican. And you should check out his two friends, Iñárritu and Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, of course, Guillermo.
Guillermo. And I was like, oh my, went home, threw my bags. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to film school. Just because it's no joke when you hear stories like that, when you see someone that is like you doing something great. Like,
for sure.
When Rogue One, the Star Wars film, Rogue with Diego Luna as the lead, it's not a joke. People were like, that's me as the lead. Somebody with a heavy freaking accent. That stuff exists. Like that kind of impact and how you can really change the narrative to certain things. Like, it's no joke. And so I will never forget how when he told me a Mexican made that film and told me to check out his two amigos, I was so blown away by what the rest of the world had to offer. And thanks to that moment, I started watching movies like Amores Perros. And I was like, what is this? I started just watching movies that were so mature for me, because at that age, like I said, I was not open to any of it. And I just wanted to go to school to make something that could change a narrative. And I'm so happy my debut Culture Shock was able to do that. Was able to do that with an immigrant story during the Trump era, and have a horror movie that was half in Spanish, half in English, that talked about the border crisis. I was just so happy that I could be part of something that, it's not a job. It's almost like a responsibility.
It can be a responsibility as much as it's fun and it is a job, a career. But like, just going back to the point of, seeing yourself on screen, it's so pivotal at this time, because a lot of us Latin Americans have been wanting to see more of our own narratives on screen, or, in any kind of art form, right? So, let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that I've seen you do some publicity for Culture Shock, which is great. And I know that you said, it was called something else at first.
Yeah.
Then you had to go in and pitch it more than once. So for those people who've seen the film or haven't seen it in Canada, watch it on Hollywood Suite. But, I think it's important for people to know that these films don't just happen because they liked you and, okay, you have a good idea. There's more to it to create these sort of very culturally relevant films for us, right? So 100%. What was that process like of, okay, I have one pitch, not quite, I'm going back. How do you work on that, having to go, you have your vision of how you want to tell the story, but you have to have producers buy it and say, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, my first approach, the biggest lesson I learned, because it was one of the first pitches I ever had to do. At that time, I felt that here in Canada, I was pitching a lot to the point where I had 16 short films. And I was like, man, nobody's believing in my wild Latino twisted stories. So I took the chance and went to LA. I took the big leap of faith, blessed that it worked out, but it was not easy.
Sure.
But I'm a big believer of right time, right place. And that's why you should really keep your eyes open at everything that's around you. And when I met Blumhouse, the producers there, it was just a general meeting. It wasn't even to pitch for that. But through the conversations, they started sharing what they're doing, what they're looking for. And they said, we actually have an immigrant type of story, a border film. And I was like, really? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And so when they started telling me about what they want to do, that they have the script, and I said, I'd love to read it. And I'd love to just see if it's something that's for me. Immediately when I read the script, at the time it was called Crossing. Glad that changed. It was called Crossing. I saw so much potential and such a great idea that the original writers had, but the mistake that I did when I first pitched, I pitched desperate. I pitched desperate to have a job. And so when I pitched first two times, I just kept sharing the vision of it, as in like what it'll look like. What kind of movie references will it feel like? I never once brought my honesty into how I felt about the script. And that was lesson number one, that from now on, I will never do that mistake again. Because I was going in hungry rather than going in collaborative, rather than going in with wanting to make a movie that we can all share. I just was desperate to please. I really want a job. So I was very blind by being honest in the things we could fix and the things we could do better. So by the fourth pitch, and these guys kept calling me back. So I mean, they must have seen something in me, and I'm surprised they did, because I just kept repeating myself until, you know, they were like, so do you like the script? Like, do you want to change it? And I kept saying, no, I think it's great. I think we can do this. But in reality, I really hated the script. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like I didn't like a lot of the things in it. And that's just a personal opinion, not that it was bad. It just wasn't, it was just something that I was like, this is not authentic in my experience. And so I talked to my mentor, Eli Ross, who's a very, very dear friend of mine. And he said, well, are you being honest? I will never forget how he said that. And I said, of course I'm being honest. Of course. Like, yeah, but what about the story? And then it just kind of hit me like, oh, I'm not. Oh. So then the last pitch, I went in such a different mindset. And I said, okay, I know you guys have heard me say a lot of this already. What you don't know is what I think we should improve on with the script. And that's how I became a co-writer on it. I did a whole big rewrite to just make it feel truly like I know what it's like to be an immigrant. I know what it's like. I know a lot of this. And I am as Mexican as it gets. So it was taking that trust, you know, to really pitch, you know, how we're gonna make this story better. Let's put the authenticity past like no other. And they said, okay, you got the job. That's all they were waiting for. And it was like that Black Swan moment when Natalie Portman gets the role and she calls her mom in the bathroom. Oh, I got the role. I did the same thing. I was like, oh, thank you very much. Shook their hand. I'm like, is there a bathroom I could use, please? Go to the bathroom. Mama.
Of course, you gotta call mama or papa.
You gotta, mama, lo logré. Like it was hilarious. But that was definitely a process. And look, the process didn't end there. I think this whole thing about authenticity and diversity, it's important that we remember it doesn't end.
Of course.
It definitely didn't end until the movie was almost out. Fighting to keep the Spanish was not easy. Fighting for authentic Mexican actors was not easy. Keeping a lot of the stuff in the movie that really played with what was going on at the time with Trump was not easy.
I know what you're referring to, yes.
Yeah, so there was still a process of like keeping your guard up and like keep like fighting, pick your battles. Yeah, it's like you said at the beginning, these movies don't just happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that also warrants for the point you made about collaboration and having writers of cultures or with lived experience, regardless of the story. It's so pivotal, right? In that, you know, you will bring that authenticity to the stories, whichever the role, if it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera. So that led to Bingo Hell, which I also love, by the way.
Oh, fun.
Shout outs to the abuelitas and abuelitos, because I was raised by mine. So I really, really thought that was a really fun film. And I think you also shared it with your abuelita, right?
I did, and all her sisters. Oh. They were cheering, because they kept seeing themselves as the heroes. And I just was like, man, when's the last horror movie that we have seniors kicking butt? You know, the ones at the front of the line getting blood covered all over them.
Right.
Butt.
Yeah. Can you talk about the atmosphere of filming that that film and what that was like with the actors.
Oh, it was a blast. I mean, definitely that was the hard, I still believe it was might forever be the most challenging thing I ever shoot because this was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
This was before vaccines were available. This is when everybody had no clue what's happening. The 6 feet apart thing, having goggles, a shield, and a mask. So like
Yes.
directing without a face is hard.
Right. That's
So
true.
it was a very challenging movie to shoot, and just the amount of time where you're not allowed as long as the typical hours on a set. Like it was a lot of limitations. However,
Right.
I'm just so happy we were still able to make something, and I think that's what made this film so fun is that all these amazing veteran actors who are legends. All the leads have been in an infinite amount of movies. Adriana Barraza, I mean,
For sure.
Oscar nominated actors, right? Like all of them wanted to work. And I think
Yes.
that's what made this film so fun is that all these wonderful senior actors were so tired of being at home. We're so tired of just doing a lot of the similar roles they told me.
Right. Yeah.
This was the very first time one of them, Grover, it was his name's Grover. It was the first time he's ever been covered in fake blood in his 50 plus years of a career.
Right.
He's never had blood on him, and he was so excited. It's like, oh, ma'am, can I say something? I'm like, well, quick, man, because we gotta go shoot your scene. He's like, I just never had blood on me before. And I was like, well, don't open your eyes when I call action. Just let the blood spill all over. He's like, okay. Do I stay still? I'm like, no, you just keep acting. So when the blood's spraying all over him, he's like, like kept going. And I was like, and also because we only have one take. So, so it was just a lot of fun. And I try my goal is always to keep the atmosphere for it to feel like you're in a family environment. And as an actor, it helps me a lot understand what it's like to be in their shoes.
Sure, yes.
Being an actor, it's one of the most vulnerable jobs ever. Everybody's watching you. So you need to make it safe, fun, and worth it. Like if the director is just not bringing that as a leader, an actor is really hard to act for them.
For sure. I can see that too. And it's, again, key word today is collaboration. Everything is a collaboration, right?
Correct.
And relationship building, I guess, it's also part of that.
100%. Well, if there's no trust in that relationship, and you can see that in movies.
For sure.
You can see that in films where the actor and the director, you can tell that relationship was such a beautiful bond of trust. Like, look at Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
For sure.
Phillips, the director, like you can just tell that those guys trusted each other so much. So to me, that's always the goal. Something I always teach to my students. I teach at Vancouver Film School.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, we do always, for me, like I always tell them so much. Yeah, sure, the perspective as a director, but I really try to bring the actor perspective a lot for these students, for the next generation, for them to really understand it's not just about the cameras and the technical side and the super awesome Michael Bay of it all. Wow, sure.
Of course.
But you gotta really have such a beautiful relationship with the cast. They're the face of your movie. Yeah.
And also believing in their characters too, I would think, because
that's my rule. That's rule number one in my book. It's on one of my slides. I put the number one thing you need as a director to keep going with this story is to love your characters. You're kind of like, oh, can't stand my characters. Why'd you put them on paper?
Right.
You have to love your characters. You have to. So an actor bringing those characters to life, it's the greatest feeling.
For sure. Because, I mean, you wear all those hats, right? You write, you direct, you act, and you also voice act.
I do.
So, how is that different for you, or the same perhaps for, because I know you've done some really cool animated series work, Is it something that you do because it's also an extension of who you are? Let's talk about that voice acting.
Yeah, I mean, voice acting or acting in front of the camera, I feel you're still part of a collaborative process. You're still part of storytelling. And I take a lot of note of how others direct. I love like that really worked and just kind of keep it. Or a lot of the time I'm like, ooh, I'm glad they don't do that, you know?
Exactly.
And it just puts me so much in the perspective of how others direct and how just to keep my love and passion of storytelling in different fields. Because I find a lot of newcomers, they think it's a one person show. They think it's like you really got to put it all on your shoulders, and being able to trust the crew, being able to trust the cast and whose job is what. Yeah, sure, it's okay to micromanage a little. Sure, it's okay to triple check if they got it done.
Right.
But this is such an amazing job that you'd be surprised that the creativity that people have. And I don't think it's right to close anyone off. So as an actor, I love seeing the creative ways that with my co-stars, what they're doing for us to feed off each other and get a scene done, or how somebody else directs, or why the costumer is fitting me with this and what they think about in the story. Like, it's, to me, if I'm part of that, I'm happy. I'm in a happy place. So, you know, somebody asks, do you prefer acting or do you prefer direct? I'm like, I can't pick. Like, I'm part of it. And
That's
yeah,
nice.
I mean, voice acting, I mean, I've been told since I was a kid, I'm like a giant walking cartoon. I am very, very expressive, and Jim Carrey was my favorite in the 90s when I was little.
I recall him then.
I would always be doing his faces, and so I know that it was perfect for me. And also, like, it's a very consistent job. So,
Yeah.
so if I
Truth be told, right?
girl, you got to put bread on the table. So, like, if that's what I got to do, that's fine. It lets me focus on the directing and being able to pitch and audition for those directing jobs that are frankly still pretty hard for minority women. It's still not as easy, but that's okay. We cannot dwell on it. We shouldn't see that as a disadvantage, but I do have to have another job.
Right. I think it's important to hear that too, not just for us, you know, women who are women of color too, who are bilingual and have a lot of different experiences that we can bring forward. But I do love your hustle. I love how you market yourself. Like I said before, to you without recording, I've followed your career for a while now. I like your social media. I love Nacho, your doggy.
Wow, gracias.
You know? So I love how you keep it real when it comes to how you present yourself to us, your fans, your followers, you know, the community, because we are, you know, a lot of us who love genre films or, you know, just quirky films. It is a community, I feel. And it is nice to see that, you know, some of us of Latin American heritage are being represented somewhere.
Ay, gracias.
Oh, of course. And I want to forget about your, you know, other projects because again, you are hustling and you now, you know, I saw in Variety a big announcement.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit or no?
Of course.
Okay.
So I'm going my next feature. I'm excited. It's not a horror. So I'm excited that I get to branch out and show my other skills. I'm terrified, but I'm excited to direct the biopic for Jenny Rivera, of Jenny Rivera. Right. Jenny Rivera was a very influential, very powerful, and very important Mexican American singer for us in the culture.
Sure.
Rancheras, boleros, banda, especially banda music.
Yes.
And Jenny Rivera, you know, has, I mean, I know a lot of her songs. My grandma listens to her, my mom, and she's just such a powerhouse for all women, especially women with tougher situations like domestic abuse, etc. She really represented somebody that is a fighter and a chingona. I think she's like
Yes,
literally
that's
what
right.
what chingona means. It equals Jenny Rivera. I think
Right.
that's how that is. And so I'm so excited to work with Univision and Televisa, the producers at Mucho Más Media. They really believed in my vision for it, and I hope audiences like it. This movie will so much focus on just the love for her. There's so many conspiracy theories about
Yes, I know.
gossip and all, and it's not a movie that will focus on that. It's gonna focus more on the resilience of a woman, and I think that's what got me in it. And I'm excited that my co-writer for life, my writing partner since forever, Shane McKenzie, is the writer. So that's gonna be a blast. So we're working on the script now.
Nice.
I can't wait to get closer to the day we shoot this.
So are you preparing by listening to her music and things like that? Because I know you
Every
love
day.
to I know
Every
you
day I
build your
listen to
music.
that. Every day. I'm so excited. So yo también quiero ganar. You know, like I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, she had quite a voice, but it's also the songs, right? I mean the
It's the
lyrics of the
songs,
songs.
man.
Yeah.
Like those lyrics are like a huevo. You
I
know, like,
always
yeah,
say
let's
that the
go.
lyrics better in Espanol. It's hard to translate
Siempre.
some of those lyrics, right?
I know, and it's funny. We can't, so many things we can't translate. We have the weirdest Spanish, I swear, especially Mexicans. It's like, really, really, that's the word you're gonna
No
use
comment.
to describe that? Yeah, exactly. See, everyone makes fun of us. Everyone makes fun of us, but I
Make
just
fun.
can't
I
wait.
think it's very colorful.
I love that. That is so nice. But such a great time that somebody like me, like a younger female BIPOC, to direct a biopic. It's unheard of. It's unheard of, especially a story like Jenny Rivera's. It's shocking to me stories like this aren't told sooner.
Yes.
I'm shocked that she doesn't have a film already. Sure,
Mm-hmm.
she has the Netflix Mariposa del Barrio, but I mean,
Yeah. But
no
it's again
comment.
about who's telling it and how,
Exactly.
right? And now the
Can't
time
wait.
is nice. So I feel like, kudos to you and Shane.
Thank
We're
you so
looking
much.
forward to that.
I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. For folks who want to follow you on social media, where can they find you, Gigi?
Yeah, well, Gigi Saul Guerrero. I promise you won't find another one with my name. So it's easy to find me on all platforms, but all my platforms are at Horror Guerrero. All of
Love
them.
it.
And Luchagore Productions, you'll find us easily. And I got two awesome horror projects that are still a little quiet, but these are gonna blow people's mind. What is the next two things I'm shooting this fall? And I'm promising a lot of Mexican blood on these ones, a lot. So stay tuned.
For sure, we'll stay tuned. Thank you so much, Gigi. Mucho gusto
Gracias.
siempre.
Siempre. Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ti.
Bye.